So welcome back to another episode of Be Yourself, a podcast with me, Rhys Smith. Today I've got a guest lined up that I've personally known for a couple of years now, and it's been like a right journey that I've been able to witness. So I thought it'd be quite cool to get him on, so I can say my side that I've seen. Obviously, he can introduce himself and say like the journey himself. So, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, cheers, mate. My name's Ben, also known as Ben Rainey or Benjamin Darren or a million different nicknames. And yeah, I'm a DJ. I make music. I do many other things, which I'm guessing we're probably going to discuss. And just hopefully I can give someone a bit of insight into inspiring someone else's journey the way I've done mine.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, because that's why I thought you'd be a perfect guest, because obviously this is all about sharing stories and insight. So I think it'll be really good, because obviously the journey that I've seen for everybody who's like listening and watching is I first saw Ben in a club which I think was called Sugar Mill at the time, and I was Attic.
Yeah.
And that's like where I first sort of like, and I found a CD the other day that I sent you on Facebook, didn't I?
Yeah.
It was from about 4 years ago, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that guy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, it started off obviously me seeing you as a DJ, and then the next time we sort of like crossed paths as such was at a suicide prevention meeting thing in Beverley. And obviously then that opened me up to the world of Andy's Man Club, which we'll get onto in a minute as well. And then obviously after that, our paths have crossed again, because we're in sort of like similar industries of the whole marketing world. Mm-hmm. So I don't know the best place to start, because there's a lot there already.
Yeah, there is.
Let's start right in the world of like DJing. So how did that all start, and like what's your journey been with DJing?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, probably like everyone, you know, there's most people are passionate about music, and it was no more than anyone else. You know, I loved like at the time it wasn't really Spotify. It was probably like, I can't remember what I was using. I think I was using like SoundCloud and just downloading like, you know, like dodgy versions of music off YouTube and stuff. And there was no interest in DJing. It was just like, right, I'm building a collection. I love music. Let's see what I can kind of get going. So I was building a collection, and obviously it was predominantly like dance music, house music as I know it. And just kind of like, as I was getting to like 16, 17, 18, going to like just gatherings and house parties, not like crazy parties, just like 10, 20 people like drinking or whatever. I started like just grabbing the aux cable, like what you put your phone into. And I just got known for like, I guess, having the tunes. Like it was weird. It was Rainey will put the tunes on. Rainey's got the tunes, right? So like I used to spend like whatever spare time I had in the week, and at the time I was an apprentice IT technician. So I was sat in an office, kind of similar like what I am in now, just like troubleshooting people. But obviously, when there was in between jobs and stuff, I was just constantly headphones in, finding music on my SoundCloud. And I just built this massive collection of like mad. I couldn't at the time. I didn't really know what it was. It was just different genres of music, and just became like the SoundCloud mobile phone house party DJ without actually having decks. And then I guess curiosity led to getting the decks for like a Christmas present. In like, this is like probably like 2015, 2014, maybe not even that long ago. I think 2015. Yeah, I've been doing it about 6 years now. Yeah, 6 years I think. So probably Christmas 2015, I got my decks. And again, it wasn't even like, I didn't just jump in and become a DJ. It was like, right, I'll dip my toe in, and started carrying on taking the music to the house parties. But this time I'd take speakers and I'd take decks, which you can see just in the background. And yeah, one thing led to another, and eventually the word kind of like spreads out. Oh, this kid's like doing a few parties, and like a few other people rang me to do parties. I started becoming like a kitchen party kind of connoisseur. Like I was just DJing at house parties, and it sounds crazy, but like, you know, when you say like you're from a marketing perspective, like organic, like word of mouth, like some people say it's dead, some people say paid ads. For me, I just grew in Hull as this kind of like kid that was DJing at parties, because back then it wasn't the stereotypical cool look of DJing, and I think it's mainly because social media wasn't the way it is now. We didn't showcase it, so like I didn't know the ins and outs. I saw DJs on stages, but now you see the lifestyle, you see the houses, you see the studios, you see the cars. So like at the time, I was like, well, I just loved music. Like there was no real thing, and no one else knew anything more than, oh, it's just a guy that plays music. Obviously, it's now become a bit of a stereotypically cool job or a cool lifestyle, whatever. But then I know it's only 5 years, but because of social media, it's just blown. But at the time, it was just like, word of mouth, like, oh, there's this kid that plays at parties. I didn't really have a big social media. I had a social media following, just friends and
Yeah.
family. One thing led to another, and then I got the shop to play at Position. Do you remember Position nightclub?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the one on the corner of George Street, near the
Yeah.
casino and the college and the bridges. So I got a shot there, and it was like warm up set, and it was like the most nerve wracking like thing in my life. But the thing is, because I built up this organic kind of cult, not like a massive like following, it wasn't like thousands of
Yeah.
people. Maybe like I could maybe pull like 100 people, but at that point, don't forget I was playing at the very beginning of the night where there's like the cleaners are still cleaning up and people are putting the hostesses are still putting the name plaques on the tables of who's got a booth and stuff. And I managed to pull in all these people, and everyone's on the door to the promoter going, "Oh yeah, me see Ben Rainey, me see Ben Rainey." So straight away, the promoter wasn't daft. There was like, right, this kid's got a bit, and it
Yeah.
soon rose into like headline sets, and not even just not really headline sets as in like it was some big thing, but like I was playing at the main times because they knew that I could bring more people, and that's kind of, I guess, how it worked for me. And then
Yeah.
one thing led to another, mate, and I guess that's kind of how it just a brief overview of how it started.
Nice, yeah, because it's been, yeah, I can remember, I think the first time I saw you was at least a good couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure it was still Sugar Mill. It might have been Attic at the time. And I
Probably,
can remember that was like the proper first time I saw you. But obviously, the one thing I want to like skip to a little bit is I've seen a lot of what you've done during lockdown, and your music's been sort of like mentioned by quite a lot of big people, obviously in the DJ world.
yeah.
So how have you sort of transitioned to lockdown and what you've been doing? Because I know every now and again a Facebook Live will pop up, and it's you and you sit in, is it your sitting room, kitchen, wherever it is, and just like having a good time. So how was
Yeah.
like lockdown? How did lockdown sort of like affect you, and how did you develop into sort of what you've been doing in lockdown?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I think the main thing that, and it's something I've missed the boat a lot of the times, but I think one thing that people have always said, and it's kind of like a famous quote, is like, if you don't adapt, you get left behind. And
Yeah.
it's the same in any industry, it's the same in any kind of circumstances. But I think with this lockdown situation, it was a case of, right, what can I do to kind of stay relevant? And at the time, it wasn't a case of thinking about growth. It was just holding the fort. It was like, can I do
Yeah.
anything that's just going to keep my name somewhat relevant in the industry, which is dying, which is dead? Like it's there isn't an industry at the minute. So obviously, I saw quite a few DJs going live, and I thought, oh, I'm not sure about that. I had my doubts, I had my anxieties. You know, the chimp was in my head telling me not to do it, and then I just did
Yeah.
it once, and like it. I wouldn't say it blew up from the start. Like I'm not saying I was getting thousands of listeners, but like straight away it just felt good. And like what I noticed was there's people listening to my music online that wouldn't be able to see me in a club, be it location, be it age, be it like financially. There was people that
Yeah.
don't come to these clubs that might have heard of me, but they've never seen me play. And then all of a sudden they're going, bloody hell, like this kid, yeah, I'm having that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
a case of
100%.
right, I'm attaching myself to a new audience. So straight away it went from how do I survive to actually I can really grow on this. So instantly it was a case of, right, get some new lighting. Like you can see in the back corner, there's a light just there. I've got like these light stands here. I've got my decks on the table. Like I've invested through lockdown on so much more, and I've grown it every time. And I've taken on board what people have said. And yeah, just kind of like try to stay consistent, posting a weekly mix, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's become kind of like a little movement for me, and my following's grown. You know, the engagement on all my posts has grown. The amount of emails I get every day and like
Nice.
interactions gone crazy. Like I've just spent since like I think 8:30. So what time are we on now? Yeah, I've been spending the last like 3 hours just going through emails, people asking me questions, giving me feedback, loads all positive stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And that's like most days now. So like, yeah, just built
Nice.
a massive thing, and obviously off the back of it, I have kind of monetized it in a certain sense just to keep my
Yeah.
head above the water. And again, it was just a case of adapt. And I've seen so many people who was probably started off. This might come across. I hope it don't come across the wrong way at all. There's a lot of people in the industry that I would have looked at in a massively they was at a better position than me at the beginning of
Yeah.
lockdown, before lockdown. And like again, just personal growth wise, and I wouldn't say any names, I wouldn't say this out loud, but like I'm looking now and I'm like, Jesus, I've completely gone like gone past you, like not in a cocky way, but it's just a matter of
Yeah.
tracking your progress, because you've got to do that, because if you don't track it, how do you know how you're doing? Like I'm not saying I sit there every day and analyze other people, but like I'm looking at certain names, I'm thinking, like I idolized you a year ago, and like not saying
Yeah.
I don't have respect for you now, but I'm looking at it and thinking I think I've upped my game a lot, and I'm proud of that, you know. And it's just crazy things, man. Like lockdown has been for me as believe it or not, as someone that makes money out of the nightlife and leisure industry, which is completely gone, has been so beneficial to sit back and read and like re-energize and do different things. And I almost think moving forward, I might do things a little bit differently because I've obviously built other things. Like now I've got like you can't see it fully, but I've got a complete office desk. There's 3 seats next to me where I'm hopefully going to have people working with me. I've got my music studio in the far corner, which you can just about see there. My decks here, which come out, and like obviously I've got all the lights on for the podcast, but usually it's like very kind of like vibey in here and low lit and kind of LED central, like just crazy colors. And it looks great. So yeah, I've built kind of like everything around lockdown. It's going really well.
Yeah, it's good to hear that you've adapted, because I know a lot of people have sort of like, as soon as, especially like the first lockdown, or so now we're on like the third one, there's a lot of people who just sat back and either thought, you know what, this is going to blow over, COVID's going to disappear in a moment, we're all going to be good. Now a year later, and there's a lot of businesses that obviously similar to me, like social media marketing, who were specializing in stuff like restaurants, hotels and stuff, and obviously that's not crashed.
And you have got to feel for them guys as well.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just about, some of them obviously aren't able to adapt. But there's been a couple of like people I know who are similar to me, and obviously again, I don't want to be like bad to them or anything, but the very first thing they did was like, okay, we still want to work at restaurants, so we're going to lower our prices from £500 to £100. And I was like, yeah, but that's not gonna physically work, because obviously you've got 10 clients paying £500. That's £5 a month. That's great. Now you've only got them clients paying £100 a month. You're only on £1,000 a month. It's like the difference. There's a lot of people who haven't adapted like that, and it's good to hear that you have adapted, because I know obviously it's been tough for like the whole industry. And do you think, obviously I know you mentioned there that when lockdown ends, things are going to be massively different for you. Have you started to plan? I know it's hard to do, but have you started to plan for after a lockdown, whenever that actually happens? Have you started to got them plans in your head?
Yeah, and I think that's like, obviously as the vaccine and stuff's rolling out, I mean, I try not to speak too politically about COVID, because I feel like the be all and end all of it is it's a completely new situation that none of us fully know. Quite clearly, even the guys at the top are not fully. It changes every week, let's be honest. So I don't go. I try not to go too far into like, this is what they need to do, this is what they should do, because at the end of the day, like, people can say what they want about who's in charge, but would anyone have been able to deal with this any better? Probably not, mate. Like, it's a very tough situation to take, and either way, you're going to upset and you're going to hurt people. And I think it's been dealt the way it's been dealt, like, you know. So we've only got we've got to focus on our own, you know, keeping a roof over our heads, keeping our family and friends and everyone around us mentally safe and physically. And obviously, if we can monetize, if we can make money, great. If you can't, batten down the hatch and just make it work for you. And I think for me, it's a crazy thought, really, and it's something I've only just started thinking now as we're getting closer to hopefully having an end line, which I still don't think is as close as people do seem to optimistically think, but I am starting to plan. And like I say, I think I kind of touched on it earlier. Like, for me, it's more a case of, I don't think I'll rush out and DJ 4 or 5 nights a week the way I was doing, for multiple reasons. I mean, firstly, it wasn't until I slowed down and had all this like time, I guess, not that I've had free time because I've been so busy, but like mental clarity I've had, and like a routine. I've had exercise, I've got a diet now, and like my head is a cleansed place to be. And I think I wouldn't say when I was DJing so much that I was any kind of, you know, depressed or anything, but I think it isn't until you slow down and look back you realize how kind of wild and reckless you was. And I think, you know, I'm not a massive drinker. I don't do anything else other than drink or drugs. You know, I don't do them kind of things at all. I rarely drink, if anything. I'm not a massive drinker, so anything more than that would just tip me over the edge. But even just the lifestyle and the Red Bulls and the McDonald's at 4 a.m. after a gig, you know, there's not a lot of good options available at that time. So like, I was living an unhealthy lifestyle, getting out of bed at dinner time, getting back in at 4. And the problem is, even on your nights off, your body's then tuned to go to bed at 4 o'clock. So it'd be a Sunday night and I'm still wide awake at 3 a.m. scrolling through Facebook. It's not healthy. Whereas now it's like, I will not go. I've got Messenger and I've got WhatsApp. I don't have Facebook and Instagram on my phone. I schedule my posts. I reply to them through my business pages. And that's pretty much all I do. I check my notifications down again. You know, I'm still active on the surface, but I'm not active. I'm not sat on it, kind of thing. So yeah, I guess sorry, diverted a bit from your question, but like
No?
it's just yeah, no, it's just I think I've reanalyzed what I actually want, and I found a bit of a different purpose. Like I'm
Yeah.
teaching a lot of people now, selling courses, which is how, like I said about monetizing. I've got courses on how to DJ for complete beginners. You could pick this up today, Rhys, and by the end of the day, I'm confident that you'd be able to mix. I'm not saying you'd be able to play in Sugar Mill, but I think you'd be able to. I know you'd be able to
Nice.
mix two tracks, and that for me just feels so much more fulfilling than going to a club till 3 a.m. and having drunk people asking you to play Despacito. And that's just my honest answer. Like I love DJing,
Nice.
I'm so passionate, but what I'm trying to say is I think I'm going to pick my gigs which suit me. Like for example,
Yeah.
not necessarily not in a snobby way, but I'm saying like as a DJ, you have gigs where you get to play what you want, but then you have commercial gigs in big clubs like for example Attic and Sugar Mill. They're classed as commercial clubs, which have like 1,500 people. You have to play a certain style of music to please people. Whereas
Yeah.
other gigs that book you for your music and people come for your music, they're the kind of gigs I'm looking at. And the good thing is because of what I've been doing through lockdown, them kind of bookings will come in, if that makes sense.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I'll be able to pick and choose what I want to do. And because I've monetized my online courses and my shop and stuff, I can actually have a bit more freedom. And
Yeah.
I can focus on giving back. Like you don't get any better satisfaction than helping other people. Like literally when people like to say about all these emails I'm getting, yeah, I've just taken your course and now I'm doing this, or I'm just about to take your course, I'm so excited. It's like that feeling is better than anything in the world for
Yeah.
me. And I think I found a purpose in teaching and helping people a bit, and that's cool for me.
Nice.
Like I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it's good to find the real purpose, and I know it's definitely a lot of people is taking that step back and like
Yeah,
looking at things and going, "Do you know what, that's not good for me. That's
yeah,
good for me. I need to work on that and that." And it's good to hear that you've developed that because I know a lot of people probably listening as well, probably in that position where they might not have taken that full step back because sometimes you can.
yeah,
Sometimes you've got to make money, you've got to work, you've got to do whatever. But I know it's hard to do, but once you do it, um, it's worthwhile because it
yeah.
helps you have a clearer picture of everything going on. Um,
100%, mate.
but obviously, one thing I want to go on from there, as we mentioned earlier, and that is the second time we sort of met as such, and that was the suicide. I think it was suicide prevention talk, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
Um,
was
uh,
Talk Suicide. That's what it was called.
talk suicide. That's the one.
It
That's
was
what it's
like
called. Trying to
we
trying to
basically
remember.
got trained in mental health on how to how to deal with and basically how to what's the word, like see, like how
Spot
to
spot the signs, wasn't it? As such.
spot the signs. That was it. Yeah, I was trying to think of the word, like how to kind of like read people's body language and stuff, which was really interesting. Really, really interesting.
It was, yeah, it was such an eye opener. And I would recommend because obviously I wanted to do it because I wanted to physically go somewhere and learn about it. But I know you can do it online as well, and it's
Yeah,
something that I'd recommend anybody to do because you think going into it, I was very much like I'm sure I know everything already. And
yeah,
as your answer, to be fair, I remember answering. We had to do slightly. We answered the questions on our phone, didn't we?
yeah,
And it was a normal. Obviously, it went on the screen. You didn't know who answered it, and most questions everybody knew the answers, but it was the explanation after the answer. So obviously, I knew
yeah.
that the spot for this if somebody's unhappy, but it was the explanation of why they're unhappy that is an eye
100%,
opener.
mate. Yeah,
Something that I'd recommend anybody to do. But obviously, the one thing I wanted to go on from there was you were there. You weren't there just on your own. Obviously, you were there as part of there was a couple of you, and obviously, you're all from Andy's Man Club, aren't you? So,
yeah,
do you want
yeah,
to
yeah.
intro what Andy's Man Club is, what it does, and give us a little bit of details about it?
Yeah, of course, mate. Yeah. So obviously, just in case anyone is listening, like I endorse and help facilitate Andy's Man Club, but obviously I don't. Not that there's anyone really owns it. It's a non-profit business,
Yeah,
but like I don't own it. I just am a part of it. So like what I'm saying is obviously my interpretation of maybe their philosophy, if that makes sense. Just in case anyone was like, oh well, it's not what it says on the website.
yeah,
But no, I mean Andy's Man Clubs is a mental health support group for men. And for any women that might listen and straight away go, well, what about women? They also run now a ladies first group, which is basically the
right,
same thing. So whatever I say now will adapt to that. So it was it was set up by a guy called Luke Ambler from Halifax. He's an ex-professional rugby league player. He's got a very good status and a very good presence online. He is a bit of an entrepreneur and he does talks and stuff. He's a very motivational kind of guy, and he's very genuine. So I do believe his brother-in-law called Andy. Again, talking above my station here because it's not my information, but this is the story that they portray as well. his brother-in-law Andy committed suicide, no signs, nothing, and straight away he was like, we need to talk about these kind of things and set up Andy's Man Club after Andy. And obviously that started in Halifax, and it was basically like most like kind of mental health slash services like Gamblers Anonymous and stuff. You sit in the circle and you do the kind of board, like you do that kind of structure. And I think it was just like, right, come down, have a cup of coffee and we'll see what happens. And it just went from that to like, bang, we've got like X amount of lads here. And obviously one thing leads to another. It starts coming into other cities. So like Manchester, Hull, Leeds, obviously the closest places around Halifax started getting it first. A guy called Leon McQuaid from Hull, who runs Think Media, I want to say Think Cloud Media, which is like a IT support system in Hull. He's a very clever guy, very nice guy. He kind of took it on himself to like foresee the Hull situation. And then a guy called Paul Longley got involved. Other people have like come through the system, and obviously then we've built a team which I've now become part of. And basically, Andy's Man Club, you know, you come down on a Monday night at 7 o'clock. It's like everywhere in the UK, no matter where you are or where you're listening from, it's at 7 o'clock. And I think pretty much most cities have an Andy's Man Club. And if they don't, they're the cities that are getting it next. And any money that gets raised for Andy's Man Club doesn't go into the clubs that are already open. It goes into opening new clubs to help new people come through them doors, which is what is most amazing to me. So I do raise money for the club through my music, and why I do it is because it's not helping us, it's helping new people, and that's what's important. And so it's every Monday 7 o'clock. It's very casual meeting. You know, you've got guys like me who always wear hoodies and caps, and you've got guys coming in suits, you've got guys coming in sport gear. Like, there's no discrimination, there's nothing, there's no judgment. We sit and have a coffee, we get in there, we chat about how the week's been. You know, it's not even like I think it's kind of psychologically a very good, it unravels you. It starts very light, and you know, we chat about things, and then there's certain questions which might trigger a deeper response, like, is there anything to get off your chest? How have you been feeling? Like, what was the last time you got upset and why? And straight away it takes you to a place, and it's like, because you've already warmed it up and you're in the group with all these other guys, and you've got to know each other, even though we know each other anyway, because it's the same kind of guys. You have the new guys who come, so straight away you're not as vulnerable because you're warm. You know, your anxiety of being in that room with 20 other people is gone, and it's just such an amazing system. And there's a massive element of trust and brotherhood in that group, because what gets discussed in there, as much as I might tell you there what kind of questions get asked, I'd never tell you what gets said, and that's what everyone stands by. And to this day, I've never known anyone, you know, leak or distribute any information. The only rule is, if we think you're in danger of taking your own life, then of course we will talk to people, you know. But anything other than that, financial, marriage, relationship, stress, anxieties, nothing gets discussed. And that's basically what Andy's Man Club is. It's changed my life, to be honest. Like, it's given me a new dimension and given me a purpose. I wear my Andy's Man Club. It'll be backwards, but it's okay to talk. I wear that proudly. You can probably see I've got quite a few canvases and prints behind me. When I do my live streams, I'm about to, literally as we get off this call, because I'm just setting everything up again, I'm about to order a canvas that I'm going to have in all my live streams, saying it's okay to talk, just to give people a little reminder in all my music stuff. And just, it's kind of like a motto that I live by now. It's like a bit of it's just one of them. It's non-negotiable to me now. Every week, you know, that's my commitment. You know, obviously if I'm ill or like something serious comes up, like for example, like last week I had a meeting at 7 o'clock, and it was an important music meeting, which I could have missed an opportunity. You know, at the end of the day, that's career. I've got to take that. But if I'm free on a Monday night, I'm there without negotiation. You know, that's my commitment to myself and to people I can help.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because obviously I've personally not been to one yet, but I can remember being at the talk in Beverley. And one thing I want to say to everybody is that I can remember you guys walking in, and I'm a very like anxious person, and I don't openly go and talk to people. I'm very like held back. But I remember like I think there was 4 of you, wasn't there? And I can remember you were chatting to somebody else, and I can remember chatting to 2 of the lads, and it was like I'd known them for years. That was, and I know a lot, because I know a lot of people who are probably thinking of going might be like, actually, you know what? I don't want to be around people I don't know. It's quite anxious. But the two, 3 guys that I spoke to, I can remember I was talking to them, and it's like I'd known them for years, and it was like, do you know what? They're not the because I know a lot of people are stereotypical when it comes to sort of like men. They're like, do you know what?
Massively.
They're gonna be like whatever. These two were like, I can remember them tattoos down their arms and everything, and I was like, I can't imagine we're gonna click. And I remember speaking to them for like 2 minutes, and yeah, like I said, it's like I'd known them for a good couple of years, and that was very like heartwarming to know. But yeah, so with Andy's Man Club, obviously, and that the mantra, obviously, it's okay to talk. I always like to obviously get advice and stuff from you. So if somebody was going through something right now, what is, obviously everybody's advice is different, and the one thing I always say is that everybody's advice is different, and obviously always get somebody's professional opinion, but some people like to get the opinion of people like us. So what is the one piece of advice you'd give somebody if they were possibly struggling with stuff right now?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think, to be honest, as well, with what you're saying about the professional side of things, like, utmost respect to the, you know, psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever, like any doctors and stuff, like them guys really do know. But I think sometimes you can't beat that real life kind of like, I can approach you and you can help me kind of thing. Because I go to like my peers and I feel like a sense of like, I trust them. So I think hearing it from a voice that is in reason of like relevance to you, it's kind of sometimes a bit more like it hits home, because I think sometimes like the doctors and stuff have got like a not a system, but obviously they have to say certain things and they maybe can't be too personal with it, and I understand that completely, but we can. So I think for me, it's like and again, I get a lot of messages related to mental health through the music, like, oh, I'm a DJ and I've been suffering, or, you know, I struggle with this. And I always say the same thing to people, and I say it to myself when I'm going through a what I call a storm. Like, we all go through storms in life. Like, so if it's anxiety, depression, you know, stress, or just any kind of mood, we all go through storms. It's natural. It's normal. You know, some days we get out of bed and we can't function the way we're meant to. Like, we're human. We're not robot. But what you've got to remember, and this is what I always remind myself, is storms do not last forever. And that's a powerful message if you can interpret it that. Like, whenever I've had anxiety or I've been going through a thing, you've got to. I look back and I'm thinking, well, that never lasted forever. Like, nothing will ever last forever. Even if you've got to battle it, you've got to face it head on, but it won't last forever. And I think what matters the most is, you know, you've got to be honest, I think, and you've got to, like, for me, it's like being honest and looking at what I'm doing. Like, a lot of the time, for example, there's a good example that I'm like you. I do get really anxious in social situations, believe it or not, even though I'm DJing. Very socially anxious, very kind of like, oh, I'm a worrier. I'm a massive worrier. Like, oh, well, what if the internet connection fails today and we don't get the meeting done? You know, what if someone rings me? Like, all these things that could go wrong, but I don't think about all the things that could go right. Like, one person could listen to this and benefit from it, and that's the good positive. Yeah, but I always think about the bad things. But like, when I'm anxious and when I'm worried, you've got to like look around you. And like, for example, I've got a sweet tooth and I love fizzy drinks. So at the end of the day, you don't realize how important what you're putting into your body actually is. I'm not trying to like advise anyone what to do, but like, for me, it's like daft things like, have I slept enough? Probably not. Have I drank too much coffee? Yes. Have I just had a Monster energy drink? Yes. Have I just had a chocolate bar? Yes. So all them things combined, is it any wonder I'm anxious? They're obviously triggers. I'm raising my blood sugar levels, they're spiking, you know, bad carbs, bad whatever calories, and like, all these things combined are gonna make me naturally a little bit on edge. Like, they're putting you on an edge. They're giving you an adrenaline. Whereas, you know, for me, it's like, if I start exercising, like, do the simple things and do them right and consistently, and honestly, you will benefit. I'm not here to preach to anyone about meditation and reading books. I do read. I try to meditate, but it doesn't really work for me because I am quite a hyperactive person. But but I do journal. Like, daily journals are great. Affirmations, like, and I'll just check for you. There's an app on my phone which is it's literally called Journal. It's called Journal Daily Affirmations. Every morning I get a notification, 3 reasons why you're grateful, you know, 3 things you're grateful for, 1 thing that you're excited for, and then you make a statement about yourself. And I do it quite religiously. Again, it's not negotiable. And like, adding these little systems to my life alongside, you know, exercising, a balanced diet. I'm not saying I never eat chocolate. I'm not saying I never have a Red Bull, because I do. But it's like, for me, it's like, in my head, it's like, if I can have 2 good meals a day, like clean, healthy meals, yeah, I might have a little snack on the night, or I might have a glass of diet or zero Pepsi, but that's not as bad as, you know, doing it throughout the day. And I think small lifestyle changes can honestly be the difference. And I honestly, and a lot of people that I've spoke to, dealt with, or worked with, it's been small tweaks that have helped. I read a lot of books on the mindset and things that you can do. I'm currently reading a book called Brain Fog, which is talking about, and that's probably why it came straight to my mind to mention the diet and the lifestyle, because it's the one thing that most recently I've been challenged upon to assess, and I've paid so much attention to it, and I've genuinely turned like what I believe to be a new kind of leaf. I'm not saying as well, and this is another thing what people need to realize about mental health, is like, there isn't a miracle pill, believe it or not. I think a lot of people, you know, I'm not again endorsing or putting people off medications and stuff, but like, there's no quick fix. Like, it's an ongoing thing. Like, even like I constantly battle with my own mental health, but say that's your tolerance of above like happiness, and that's your negative. It's about keeping it there rather than being down, up, because I used to be either super down or you could not touch me. I was on cloud nine. It was as if I was like on some magic kind of like LSD or something. Like, I was untouchable, like happy. But the problem is, it's not healthy because it comes crashing down so fast. I think it's about stabilizing that line and finding the happy medium, finding your purpose, and finding what works for you. And I think you're going to circulate around that. You know, there's going to be days like, for example, like yesterday, I felt myself just under here. So then I had a chamomile tea last night, went to bed at a good time, read my book, and now I'm probably here. But I don't really want to be up there, because the problem is, I know if I go up there, I've got to come all the way down there. And that's kind of like my own little system that I built, where it's like, stay around the medium, remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing, try and eat clean, and sleep. Sleep's probably my downfall, because technology and social media and everything do get, you know, if you sat on your phone at night, the blue light system and all that people believe in, like, you've got to be really careful. But I'm not professing to be some kind of expert. I'm not saying that I'm 100% committed to it, because I do fall off the wagon, but I think it's about having a system that you can go back to when you're, like, for example, if I'm feeling good quite a lot, I will probably drop off this system. But then as soon as I do, it's about being aware, remembering, and getting back into the loop. And that's kind of what I do to keep myself going, mate.
Yeah, I like that whole sort of like the happy medium and staying in the middle, because the big thing as well, as soon as you drop down there, it's about knowing that it's okay to be there, and everybody's going to be there, and it makes you human. It's simple things as well. Like, I know a big thing at the moment is it's like okay to cry, and I'm the same. I'm sort of like there, and sometimes I'll come up to here, and sometimes I'll go there.
Yeah.
But sometimes I know that when I'm there, I know what I need to do to get back there, and sometimes it's having a good cry. And I always say this to everybody: if you don't cry, you're missing out, because as soon as you cry, you release this whole thing. I'm the same. I watch things on TV. I've become a lot more, since I've reached this place, I've become a lot more sort of like emotional, as in a good way. Like, simple things. I used to watch TV programs, and if somebody died in the nicest way, I wouldn't have been affected. I would have been, oh, good. But the one I had recently is we were watching, me and my partner watching Grey's Anatomy the other day. And there's a big, so I won't give any spoilers in case anybody's watching it, but there's a scene where a big character dies. And before, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's fine. But it really affected me, and I full on cried. But after I did that, everything felt so much better. Because I was crying about that person dying, but then I was also crying about everything I did last week. Exactly. And then the other thing I want to go on really quickly is the blue light thing. So anybody watching, I got these. So they're blue light glasses.
That's so interesting.
So I wear them all day when I'm at a bar now, because I'm obviously doing this and I look a bit, I don't like wearing them. But when I'm at my computer all day, and I use these, and it's helped me massively. I now don't get any headaches. I can fall asleep straight away. So like even in bed now, if we're watching TV before we go to bed, I'll make sure I'm wearing these, and I can notice the difference. Like last night I didn't wear them, and I didn't go to sleep until 1 o'clock. Whereas the night before I wore them, and I was asleep at 10 o'clock, and it's the real big difference there.
And that's a great tip for me, because I did touch on it, but it's something I've never really looked into. And I know that there's guys, for example, like a couple of friends of mine have like apps on the phone which switch the colours in their iPhones, but it's mainly the TV on at night. Like, for example, like last night at like 11 o'clock, I was in bed drinking a chamomile on my laptop, replying to some emails. TV's on in the background, and then luckily, like I said, I was pretty tired because I'd had a bit of a low day, so I did sleep not long after. But like usually, I'd then switch the laptop off, or usually I won't be on the laptop that late. But like if I'm on the laptop that late, I'd switch it off, and then all of a sudden it's like, right, now I need to like wind down. But if I had the glasses on and I was thinking, I mean, I don't know what my missus is gonna think to the glasses, but she's just gonna have to put up with it. I'm gonna
Get her a
put a
pair as
pair
well.
in my
That's what I
Amazon
did.
basket. Yeah.
They're £9.99, and me and my partner have got them, and she noticed the difference as well because
Yeah.
obviously I watch Netflix, I game a lot as well, and obviously
Yeah.
stare at my screen a lot, and every single thing has helped a lot. Like when I was gaming, I could only game for so long, and obviously now I know it's not a good thing, but I can now play a game for longer. I
I know
can
what
now
you mean,
watch
yeah.
a whole episode of I can watch a whole episode of Netflix. It's things like that, and it's helped my eyes. And obviously the other thing I wanted to mention is when it comes to lifestyle changes, and you mentioned it there, it's about like the micro changes make the bigger difference.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
reason I
Yeah.
got into that is because yesterday I was lucky enough to go on BBC Radio Humberside, and it was all
Nice.
about talking about mistakes and stuff. And the one thing that I actually ended up saying while we were doing our interview, and I was like, I've never said that out loud before, and it makes sense. And we were talking about, so obviously I'm a big believer that make mistakes and learn from them. So don't be scared to make a mistake because you'll learn from them. And the one
Yeah.
thing I was saying then was that think back to a big mistake you've made in life, and it's really hard to think of the pros of it, but I bet you that there's little pros that have come from it that have ended up reaching bigger things. The example I use is so when I was 18, I left a job, and I moved to another job for more money. And obviously that's a big thing when you're 18, 19, you earn more money, yeah, great.
Of
And I
course you do,
left
mate,
that,
yeah.
exactly, I left that job, and I was unhappy 6 months later that I actually ended up having like a breakdown.
Wow.
And obviously looking back at having a breakdown at 19, there's not many positives that come from it. But then when you pick up the micro things, it's actually, do you know what? Because I had that breakdown, I now feel comfortable enough to talk about my story, which means I've done this podcast. Because I do this podcast, I help other people.
Yeah.
Suddenly that mistake is like, do you know what? If I did not leave that job and make that mistake, I wouldn't be where I am now.
I know
And
exactly what you
it's
mean, yeah.
exactly, yeah. It's like the micro things that you need to concentrate on, because a lot of people, exactly what you just said there, will go, do you know what? I need to eat healthy, so I'm never going to eat any chocolate ever again. I'm never going to drink any fizzy drinks
And
again.
that's not going to make, that's
And you'll
just going to make
crash.
you fed up, yeah. It's going to make you fed up.
Yeah,
I'm
and
completely
you'll
in the
crash a week
same boat
later.
as you. Yeah, like that's a key point. Like if there's anyone that can take anything away from this, is like don't try and make a drastic change. Like
Yeah,
nothing I've mentioned there was drastic. Like it's a case of like just like even just being aware of things. Like for example, like I do like coffee, but the reason why I was getting all these massive like high and low spikes is because there'd be 2 sugars, there'd be milk, there'd be cream, there'd be caramel, there'd be vanilla latte. Like I'd have like a flavored
yeah,
latte, and the problem is not only is that going to spike you up and take you back down, it's also going to make you want to eat more because like it's addictive. Like all them additives and sugars and stuff are very addictive. So now it's like, yeah, I might have 2 or 3 coffees a day because that's what gets the cogs in my head turning. But like you'll actually find that in moderation, coffee is powerful. Like that's
yeah,
why people that fast use it. That's why they use it. Like there's not really many, unless you abuse coffee, there isn't a lot of negatives. The negatives are everything that you add to the coffee. And again, that's one
yeah,
thing that I've learned from this book. But just have things like that, like cutting back and like, for example, like I do like my chocolate, but for example, like I don't know if you're aware, but like you can go and get these like skinny whip bars, which are like 99
yeah,
calories. They're from like heroin or something. Like I'll maybe like for example, like I'll have my dinner after this, and then in between my next meal, if I need a snack, I might have one of them, or I might have like a granola bar or something a little bit. Like it's not perfect. There's still some like shit in there, but
yeah,
like it's going to be better than what you was going to have. And I think it's like it's all about that balance. And again, come
yeah,
Saturday night when I'm laid on the sofa with my family and my missus or whatever, if there's a pizza going around, yeah, don't feel guilty about having that because you've done 5 consistent or 6
100%.
consistent days of eat. Like it's like as well, a good rule is like the 5-2 rule. Like Monday to
Yeah,
Friday, good routine. Get up at 7, do what you need to do, get to the office for a certain time. But then on a Saturday and Sunday, I kind of let loose. I still get stuff done. I'm still always like I don't ever switch off. Like I'll probably still be on my laptop
yeah,
making music or emailing or doing something, but it's not as important on a weekend. And then I'm ready for the Monday. I'm like, right, get me back in that routine. And I think that's what works for me. And I think a lot of people need to just find what works for them. And don't get me wrong, I've tried and failed different systems. Like I tried to be regimented, and I sat my missus down. I was like, look, I'm getting up at 6:30 every day. I'm going for a run. It's not negotiable. and then I'm doing half an hour of this, half an hour of that. And she was like, just like, wow. And then I made myself fed up and tired and miserable.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, right, I might get up at 7 or 8, but as long as I'm in the office for a certain time and I have that set, what time I actually get up doesn't matter. Like I say, I have to be here in my studio for 9 and treat it as a working day. Even though I'm self-employed, even though I make music, it doesn't matter. I have to be in here for a certain time, and that's not negotiable now. But what I do beforehand depends on how I feel, because you can't force yourself. Yeah, you can build habits and stuff, but at the end of the day, if I said to myself, right, I have to run every day. Look at the weather. It's freezing. It's raining. It's January when we're doing this podcast. Why would I want to run every day? Yeah, in the summer, I might be up and at it. But instead, what I'm going to do is I might go for a walk later on when it's dried up and it's a bit like calmer. Why go and why wreck yourself? Like, don't. That's the problem. And I think that's why a lot of people fail at changing. They try to they go too dramatic. And I've done it. I've been that guy. But you can't aim too big. You got to make baby steps. And like, if I look at where I'm at now through like Andy's Man Club, mental health services, changes I've made to my lifestyle in the last, even just since lockdown, like I'm a different person. Like I'm a different kind of energy. And people around me, like my mum, I spent more time with family, which I missed because I was always out on the road DJing. I've obviously, not that I wasn't completely in love with my missus, but like we've found like a new, I guess, kind of strength in a sense. It sounds daft, but like we've found new, like it's just, everything's just developing, man.
I like that, especially what you said at the end about being in love with your missus more. And I bet that's a case of it's because you're probably in love and in touch with yourself a lot more. And as soon as it's really funny because my partner watches RuPaul Drag Race. Anybody who doesn't know it, it's the funniest program out there. But there's a quote on it, and I always laughed at it. But now it's think about, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? So and true, I always found that quite a funny quote. But then when I looked into it deeper, it's a case of, if you don't actually like yourself much, how are you going to like somebody? How are you going to like somebody else? And it's probably what you said there. And you've probably done it without realizing, haven't you? Where you've changed your lifestyle, which means you're more confident in yourself, which suddenly means your relationships with other people are raised up to that next stage.
Massively, mate.
But and I like the whole like commitment thing, because I'm one that obviously, like 2 years ago, I had a Peach media agency, which obviously was just me. It was self-employed. I then went to work at another agency, and then obviously ended up having my own agency now. And the difference between 2 years ago and now is all from making little changes. Because I did the exact same thing, where I'm going to be up at 6 o'clock every morning. I'm going to have my breakfast, a shower, and done. And as soon as it got to 9 o'clock, when I was like, I'm going to start, I was depressed. I was like, I can't bother to start. But now I wake up naturally every morning. I don't set an alarm.
Cool.
And to start with, I was waking up at 10, 11, 12 o'clock, which wasn't good. But I started to get to a good position. I wake up at 8:30, 9 o'clock every morning. Wow, and I have things to do. I have things to do that I tick off before, but I don't have a time schedule to it. So like every morning I get up and spend time with my dog. I make sure she's fed. I make sure I've had my breakfast and had a shower to then start working at about 10 o'clock.
That's amazing,
But if I woke up tomorrow 9:30, that would all be pushed back to 10:30, and it wouldn't be a problem. And it's about them little changes, isn't it? And it's I see loads of people, they're like, oh yeah, this waking up at 5 o'clock, it's what Elon Musk do, it's what Jeff Bezos does, it's what Bill Gates do. That's great for them, but you're not them, and you've got to find out what works. And it's definitely them little changes.
No, 100%, 100%. I think just quickly to add on that before we move on, it's just like, as well, like you say, it's not necessary. I think it's better not to put strict time schedules on yourself. Like 100%. I say, my only non-negotiable is I want to be here for 9, and I know what I've got to do before that. I know what I've got to do in the morning, let's say. So whether I've done that before or after, it doesn't really matter. That's just for me, for being the routine, because I'm like you. Like, I eventually want to be naturally waking up in my cycle, like whatever, good cycles and feeling good. But at the minute, I do have to set an alarm, because I'd be like you, I'd be until 10, 11. The only problem I have is, if I do stay in bed late, I start feeling guilty. I feel like I'm playing catch up, and next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock at night and you're still working. So like, it just suits me to get up that little bit earlier, but at the same time, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Everyone works different, and that 5 a.m. thing, I think that's the problem. Some people are preaching things that might actually damage your own mental health. 100%. Like a lot of the entrepreneurs and the big kind of inspirational businessmen. I'm not saying that because they're not probably lying and they're not preaching wrong, but I think you've got to take what a lot of people say with a pinch of salt. Like, I do listen and watch people like Gary V, Tony Robbins, you know, Elon Musk.
100%.
I do buy into that a little bit. And there's another guy in New York that I've just started following who sells properties called Ryan Serkan. He's got an amazing page and he does give a lot of good information. But what you've got to remember is take it all with a pinch of salt and adapt that to your lifestyle, because you're not them. They're multi-millionaire
100%.
businessmen. And what you've also got to remember is they make it all look so easy, but they've probably got 100 men in the background pulling all the strings. Like
100%.
we have to, like, for example, like, as business owners, me and you, we reply to every email. We have to sort all, you know, admin stuff, invoices, you know, chasing payments, contacting each. Like, we don't have a team as such. Like I say, I am going to be building a team here, and I'm sure in the future you might build a team, whether you have or not at the minute. But these guys have literally got an infrastructure that works so that they can keep that simple looking routine. But they wouldn't have had that at the start. They probably didn't. Yeah, Jeff Bezos might have been getting up at 5 a.m, but I bet you he was running around like a headless chicken. I bet you he was stressed out. I bet you he was anxious. I bet you he was not depressed, but I bet you he was suffering with all these things that we was. The only reason he's showing you it now and he's advocating now is because he's in a different position. And that's the problem with social media, is the light that we shine is always the highlight. We never show the low light. And that's why I said to you openly before we did this, I won't lie and I'll tell people, like, if we had been speaking about struggles, I'd have told you the struggles, because there has been struggles. So like, I don't want people to think, oh yeah, he's DJing, he's got his office, he's got his studio, he's got his like online shit, like he's got all this going. It never started like that, and it still isn't plain sailing. I think that's what people need to know, is like, you are getting yourself in for something bigger than just making money. And like, if making money is the pivotal, then it's like, that's, to me, that's secondary. Money's freedom, and that's what we need to get to, like, do things. But fundamentally is what I can do for that, and what I can do for the heart and for other people. And I think as long as you've got that, and don't get me wrong, I have lost track of that at times. Like, you know, when you see your friends with a bigger car or a nice house, you start chasing, oh, well, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to start doing this to make that. Because I know a million ways I could make more money than what I'm doing now, but they don't suit my lifestyle. They don't suit me as a person. And they also, they're just wrong. They're just not good for me. So let's kind of make money out of my passion, but actually love what I'm doing. And that's what I'm doing now. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, happiness. My thing's happiness, and everybody's happy. That's the other thing to look at as well. Is a lot of people go, well, my goal's happiness. But my happiness is going to be completely different to your happiness, because we're two different people. And exactly. I think that's a big thing to look at, is what is your happiness, and never let money be a driver, because money should never be a driver, because that doesn't equal happiness. Don't get me wrong, having a nice car is probably going to make you a little bit happier. But if your goal is to get the money to get that car, it's not going to work. And obviously, going back to the whole thing of what we see of other people, the one example I always give is Robin Williams. Obviously, plays the happiest characters in films, and every time we've seen him, he is happy. But then, obviously, it came as a shock when he took his own life. And I think that's a big thing for everybody to look at, is just because people are happy on social media and happy doing podcasts. That's why I'm always opening these podcasts and say that I have struggles myself. You have struggles. Everybody has them. It's just about how we deal with them. So we've covered a lot in this podcast, and one thing I always sort of like to end it on, and I've got a plan in my head which I want to speak to you after, and will be a surprise to everyone listening. But if you could give 3 bits of, obviously you've given a lot of advice as it is, but if you could give 3 pieces of advice, 3 mantras that you live by, anything like that, what would them 3 things be? Yeah,
cool. So the first thing and the main thing that I've always lived by, and my mum and dad have installed into me, is it's quite a simple thing really, and it does make sense, is that good manners and morals will open more doors than talent ever will. If you're a good person and you're genuine, I promise you, like, you will get so much further. Like, I think that's testament to myself, because I don't deem myself to be one of the best DJs or the nicest, but what I do is I build relationships, I make effort, and I'm genuine with people. So they want to book me again. They want to see me in the club. They want to know me. They want to, you've got to build that authenticity. So that's kind of like a quirky mantra I live by. Again, second one's kind of just what we've been discussing, which is like, yes, money's a driver, but don't let money be the ultimate, like, find your purpose. And I think I've had to find it, because a lot of the time when I was gigging and DJing, I probably was thinking, oh, well, this is like, I know why I'm doing this, can't wait to get that money and spend it. Whereas now it's like, that's just a bonus of our hard work and our dedication to what we do. But I feel like if you're not working hard towards your dream, then some people look some people are going to be happy to sit in a 9 to 5 and take a wage, and they might actually enjoy the job, and that's absolutely fine, or they might tolerate it because they're putting money on the table for the family, and that's fine. But I think if you're an entrepreneur, or you're interested in being an entrepreneur, yes, like for example, here's a good example for like, I know that at the minute every woman is buying candle wax melters, incense sticks, infusers, or whatever they're called, right? And they're selling for around £30. Someone's going to jump on this idea off the back of this podcast. They're selling for about £30. But I know in wholesale where you can get them exact products for around £2-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could mark up a product there with £27 profit. And don't get me wrong, I am tempted to do it. But my heart's not in that. I don't know nothing about that industry.
Yeah.
The only reason I do it is because my mum loves it, and I could set my mum up with a business that she could make money. But the problem is, she's passionate about the product, but she's not a businesswoman. She's not bothered about. She's one of them people that's just happy to provide for me, my dad, my sister, and my family, and like that's her purpose. That's her what she does for. Whereas for me, it's like, as much as obviously family and everything, relationship, building a future with my partner is, it's about in what I'm doing. It's about knowing that I'm helping people that not necessarily deprived or struggling, because I do charge for my services, but people that wouldn't have had access to them resources, and knowing that like young DJs are coming through because of my help, knowing that people are beating even mental problems through music, through my assistance. Like, for example, people message me a lot and they're like, oh, like, I want to buy your course. I can't afford it till payday. I'm a sucker. I just send them it. I send them it straight away for free, because at the end of the day, then people will reward me with happiness when they turn around and go like, thank you so much, because there's enough people that are willing to buy it. And I'm not greedy. That's another thing. Don't get greedy. Like, that's probably my third is like, and I'm guilty, I'm guilty as anyone else. You see a bit of money come in and you think, oh, I could double that, I could triple that. But at the end of the day, and I read it last night, because there's a really good app called Medium. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's called Medium. And it's basically for news articles, but they're not like the Sun or the whole Daily Mail, like where they're just negative. It's just like you pick your industry. So like I'm looking at like health and well-being, travel, marketing, like financial. And like a guy was saying in there, like he lives in LA on a shoestring budget, and he's so happy. He breaks down exactly how he does it, and he said, what you've got to do is find out exactly what you need to survive in this world. Include your saving pot for holidays, include your mortgage saving pot or whatever, but find out what it takes for you to be sustained in this. Like, a lot of people, it might be like £500 a week, it might be £1,000 a week, whatever it is. Some people it might be two, some people it might be £100 if they don't have like bills and stuff. Find out what you need for your food, your bills, your savings, and have a fun pot, because obviously we all need a fund where we can buy an Apple Mac or things, but the problem is, we all, like, the way the world works at the minute, I feel like we all kind of like, I'll see someone buy the new iPad or the new iPhone, I'm like, right, I need that. I see someone with the new AirPods in, I need them. And I have been living like that, but more recently, that's my next kind of habit, is like, find out what I need a month. Everything above that stays in the business, and it gets invested the right way. Even if it is into something that's going to make me money in the future, it doesn't matter. But it's just about not wasting money and valuing. I think I need to value money a bit, and that's kind of like one thing I maybe didn't learn early enough, was the value of money, because from a young age I was always a Del boy, so I was always seeing more money come through my hands. Not saying it like there's loads of money like I was some kind of rich kid. I've never have been, and never probably will be, because I'm quite daft for money. But like, I was seeing quick money going through and out, selling stuff at school, like selling ice watches. You remember ice watches? There was like colourful watches. I used to sell them, because I just always used to think, where do you get these in bulk? Like, where do you get these in bulk? Sold ice watches, I sold Ray-Bans, everything you can imagine, like, and because of all these things, and it was quick money, it's quick cash in hand. Taxman, don't look at me. Obviously, but this is when I was like 15, 16. It was pocket money. It was, like I say, I wasn't selling 100%. Huge quantities. It was like maybe like 5 a week or 5 a month. There was not, but because it was a lot of money at the time, I feel like that devalued when I first got an apprenticeship and I was on 100 quid a week. It was like, oh, 100 quid. Well, I could have got 200 quid to do a couple of sales. And it's like, I shouldn't have had that mentality. So I think you've got to learn the value of money. And obviously the industry I'm in, it isn't necessarily sustainable. So like one week you could have 10 gigs, the next week you could have none. So it's like I've always found it hard to balance money, but I think it can be evil if you let it take over. So I think my next step and what I advise people to do is value money and set your threshold, and anything above that put aside. You know, if you need £500 a month, anything above that, and you earn 1,000, put the 500 into like something. Invest it into stock, invest it into property, capital, whatever. All things that I'm learning at the minute, but it's it puts more into my heart because I know that I know what I need and I know what I'm aiming to do, and the rest of the money doesn't matter.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Some really good tips there. So yeah, I wanna leave it there. But obviously I want to thank you for being a great guest.
Thanks, man.
Covered a lot more than I thought we would, and there's still probably like a whole other episode we could do, because obviously we didn't even really touch on like marketing side of things.
Yeah, there's another angle. What we could videography, marketing, everything. We'll do a part 2.
Exactly. Part 2, yeah. Part 2 coming soon. But one thing I also want to end on as well is, if anybody wants to come and find you on social media, where's the best place to find you? What's your usernames? And what channel's best to find you on?
I mean, it depends what you want to see. If you want to see me dancing like an idiot, then probably YouTube. Just put Ben Rainey in. If you want to see more personal, kind of like every day to day, which at the minute I'm not on social media. Just having a little detox, like January detox.
Nice.
So, but if you want to see more of my life and what I'm doing, Instagram Ben Rainey, it'll come straight up. I have a personal account on there which I post stuff about my mum, my girlfriend, everything. So yeah, I'm quite an open book online, to be honest. I just do it as it is and say it as it is, really. So if anyone wants to find that, it's out there to be seen.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being a great guest, and obviously thank you to everybody who's watching, listening, and obviously I'd love to hear what you thought of the episode in the comments below.